welcome to my channel and welcome to my website. My name is Daryl and this is Programming in Any Language. The website is www.black-duck.com. It's where you will find all my videos organized in logical order. You can begin with the basics and then move on to advanced concepts. You can also start with the speed track and build an application from scratch, which should pique your curiosity with a desire to learn more. Well, you saw the analysis. This project has a bunch of pieces. To do this right, we will break it down into smaller pieces. So before we do any coding, let's design the form. Or is it just a form? This project is really two applications. One is entering all the data for the races. The other is displaying the race data on command. We want these two pieces not to interfere with one another. To do that, we're going to use group boxes and panels. This will help with the logic of our program when we begin to code, and it'll help with our design. Let's get right to it and design the data entry screen. Okay, we're going to start this process. We're going to create the Formula One average speed calculator from scratch. And so I'm going to go ahead and open Visual Studio here, and we'll start it up and get it going. Create a brand new project. Windows Form App.NET Framework. Next. Give it a name. Formula One. ASC. Average speed calculator. We'll just call this thing. Go into a sandbox. Gotta go find a little spot to put it. And put it right in here and go ahead and create the object. Okay, here we've got it now. We've got it set up and I've got my form basically of this size right here. So we're going to build this this calculator thing. And what I want to do first is I want to actually go ahead and enter the track information, track name, the track length, the number of laps. I want to do this little portion first over here to make this thing work. We'll take this by piece and put this thing together. So we're going to work at it in bits. We have our plan of what it's going to kind of look like. We've all done all that. So now it's time to actually do that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and get my track name down. So I'm going to need my common controls, and we'll start putting this stuff in place. We'll need a label. And the first thing we're going to do with this label is we're going to say track name. And we're going to go ahead and change the font in this thing. We're going to use this thing a number of times, making copies of it so we can save ourselves some time actually working with it. I'm going to go ahead and make this a 10, and I'm also going to make it bold so it kind of sticks out like that. I'm not going to put any border around it because I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm also going to need a text box because we're going to be bringing in the track information. And so we're going to go ahead with that thing and give it a size of bold and also make it a 10. So that puts that in place. The next thing I want to do is I want to be able to add the track length and number of laps we're actually going to be dealing with. So I'm going to make a copy of this and I'm going to hit it twice. And one of those is going to be track name, or no, it's going to be track length. And the other one is going to be the number of laps. I'm going to need this one more time because I'm going to add this thing right here. I'm going to call this thing kilometers. And this one is going to be miles. And we'll kind of put those together like this. I'm not going to worry too much about formatting this stuff right now. I'm going to need some text boxes to bring in this data. So I'm going to take this guy right here and lay it in right here. And another one over here. That's going to be my miles. And then I'm going to put in my number of laps. I'll need that here. And I kind of shrink these guys down a little bit. Number of laps is going to be a numeric, so it's not going to need that lot of space. So I'll kind of make it like this. Same with kilometers. We're not talking large numbers. We're talking, 5.412, something like that. So maybe what I'll do is I'll simply make these all the same size. And we can adjust that when we actually do our testing. And make that, whoops, that was screwy. Go up here and do a format, make same size, both, and they're sitting right there. Now they all have the same fonts too. They're all going to be bold. They're all going to be that. So that's the nice thing about copying this stuff together. So that puts myself in place. Now what this is going to be, and I also want to be able to save this information. Once I've got these three things in here, I want to save that data. But I'm going to save that for a second here. We're going to take a look at this. This is my track information. And what I want to do with that, I don't want to do any other keying. If you remember our slideshow, we want to enter the track information, the track length, and then the number of laps. And once we're done with that, then we can talk about driver's information. So we kind of want to have this active and this not active. So how are we going to do that? One way to do that is to go ahead and place this thing in some kind of a box. So I'm going to go ahead and take my common controls down there, and I can look at my containers, and I could use a group box or a panel. A group box might be a good idea because I can actually use a label on that thing. I'm going to double click on the group box, and it comes out here and basically gets displayed. I can change the size on that real easily. What I can do now is I can grab all this information I've got here, and it grabs it all and move it into the group box. Now it's there. Now I can take my group box and literally move it up here and resize it to the way I'd like the group box to look. And it might look something like this. I also might want to put a name on here, so I'm going to take my group box and give it a text name of track. Maybe track info. And just leave it like that. And I also maybe want to change the font of this thing too, or I can leave it small. And so I'm going to do that right away by clicking on that once again and changing the font so they're all consistent. Bold and 10. And I'm almost not like, well, yeah, it's going to be okay once I get into the track name. It's going to be a little wider maybe. And now I can kind of format this stuff and put it in place. So I'm going to go ahead and take these three things. I'm actually going to take the kilometers over here, and I'm going to take the track name, the kilometers, the track length, and the number of laps. And I'm going to do a format. And vertical spacing is going to be made equal, so they're all there. Then I can take those kind of things and kind of bring them down like this, so they're away from that. And what I can also do is right justify them all. So I'm going to go ahead and take my align their rights, and now they kind of look like that. Now I can kind of move them over together any way I want. Bring them into the screen, something like that. Now I can go ahead and take these things and move this down here and move this down here, so it's in a good shape here. Move my lap down there like this and move my track name down here, something of that nature. And then I can center all this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and take my track name and my track text file and track name and track text. Let's do that again. Track name and the track text file, and do a format and align their middles. And same thing with this, the kilometers and the miles. I'm going to align their middles. Same thing with the track length and the entries here. I'm going to align their middles. And same thing with the number of laps, format and align their middles. Now they're looking good at this point in time. I do want to now take these three things and align their lefts. And then I want to actually take this one and this one and align the centers. Notice the white is the one that is going to be the master, and anything else is black is going to be the slave to this, and they're going to form according to this guy right here. I'm going to do the same thing with my miles here, and I'm going to format and align their centers. And now we're pretty much in shape here. We've got our little track thing going there. I also want to add a button of some kind to this thing, perhaps a save button. So I'm going to go ahead into my common controls, and once this is all saved, and put a button here. And that's going to go right here. And, you know, I'm going to put the word save in it. And it looks like our font has been retained. It's keeping that font, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is bold, and it is 10. It's keeping the same font as the container that is holding it right now. So that's the nice thing about putting something in there. It retains that thing. I might want to change the size of this guy to see if I can get that thing to make the same size as this. So I'm going to do a format here, make same size, both, and there's our save button. It looks a little too small. It doesn't look good that way. I'm going to undo that and leave it the way it is here, and leave it as a save button like this. So that's the extent of it. Let's go to background color by clicking on the group box itself, looking at the back color right here, and going ahead and giving it something in the order of, look at a web thing here. Yeah, actually, let's look at a system color and go on with something like gradient active like this, and give it that blue shade. So it looks like that. So now what we've got here is we've got this, I'm going to save, do a run on it, see what it looks like. And it kind of looks good. It does look okay. So let's go ahead and write some code for this thing. If we actually come in here and do something like this, we're going to have data in here. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to give these things names. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this text, the track name up here, a name, so we can refer to it in code. And I'm going to call it the text track name, txt track name. And for the text length, I'm going to call this guy txt klength. And this one will be txt mlength for miles. txt mlength. Did I actually put the L in here as capitalized? I did. No, I didn't. I wanted them consistent when we actually do this thing. So I'll put that in there right now. I like to do it now because if I have to make changes to it later, it could mess things up. Number of laps is also going to go in here. So I'm going to go ahead and make that txt number of LAPS, laps, and leave it at that. Now button save button, I can just leave that for now. Well, I'm going to call it button save. So we'll call this thing BTN. Let's call it save track. We'll put that down there so to distinguish of that. So that names everything that I've actually got here. And the group box itself, I want to call GRP group box track info. All right, let's call it track. Just track. There we go. Keep it like that. So that puts us in place right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one more thing. I'm going to grab a title here, and I'm going to put a label on here. Let's get a brand new label. I'm going to want to do a little thing different to leave it right where it is. And I'm going to call this thing Formula One Average Speed Calculator Data Entry. This will be the data entry form that we're going to actually be using here. And I'm going to align that thing to the center here as I've got that thing in place. I'm also going to change the font on this. And we're going to make it bold, of course. But I'm going to make the size of it a little bit larger than we were seeing before. So let's call this maybe, let's try 16, see what happens here if I put it in 16 in there. Whoops, wrong thing. Undo, edit, undo. Not that guy. I want this thing to be bold. Yeah, everything's fine here. Make this thing 16. Let's see if that works. Is that too big? It might be just fine. And let's bring it down a little bit. And then let's center it on the form. We're probably going to do this a number of times. But there it is. It's in place there. Okay. So that puts the data in there. We could certainly write the code for this thing. So this is going to be our track information. Now we're going to, once we get this thing done, we're probably going to press the save button, which is going to turn on something else called well, let's go to the screen. We're going to be wanting to do the driver information at that point in time. So this kind of stuff will be saved or be put someplace, and this is going to actually go into our driver information. We want to get this stuff in place now. So we're going to try to set up some format for this. To do that, we're going to do another group box. So we're going to, since we're using group box, so we're going to have a group box for our driver information. So I'm going to go down to the group box and bring one up. That brings one up here. I'm going to slide it down. Whoa, let's grab it. That's right. You got to grab by those little arrow things here. Probably make it something of the same size. In fact, let's try that. Well, it's going to be a little longer, I think, for starters. So let's go ahead and do this. I want to go ahead and change the font on this thing so that it is a bold and a 10. And I'm also going to give it a name. We're going to call the name of this thing Group Driver. GRP Driver. And in the name of it, I'll just call it Driver. And that puts that in place there. Now I want to add the pieces we're actually going to put in here. We're going to want, again, we're going to want some kind of label here. So I'm going to grab this guy and bring it down here. And this one is going to end up with the name Driver in it. Much like we did up on top with track name. We'll just pop that in there. We're also going to have a label like this and lay that in here. And I'm not label a text box, so we're going to be bringing in data. We'll want to call that something, so we'll probably end up calling it text driver. And we'll double check to make sure the font is the same. And indeed, it kept the 10 and kept the bold, so all that's there. So we've got that information. Next, we want to do is we want to do the same thing we did before. Control C, we'll do Control V here 3 times, and space these guys out. And what we're going to put in this thing is the finish time. So I'm going to need another one of these and lay it in here. And this will be it'll say finish time. So labels that are just going to be displaying on the code, so it will not be modifying this stuff in code. Finish time, and this is going to be hours, minutes, seconds. And we're going to want a place to put that information. So we'll need text boxes. 3 of them again. And we'll format this in a minute. Make it look nice. This will be called TXT hours, TXT minutes, and TXT seconds. So that's looking pretty good. Let's try and format this stuff. We're going to kind of do the same thing we did before. We're going to grab this one here and just slide it over here for now. Oops, where'd it go? Here, put it over here. There. Now we're going to take the driver and the hours and the finish time and do a format, vertical spacing, make equal. And now it's sitting there like that. Now we can kind of take these three and also adjust their horizontal, their align their rights, so they're looking like that. We can even take this now, and then take these guys and align their rights. So now it comes in conjunction with the guys up here. That looks pretty good. Now we're going to go ahead and take the driver information and its text box and format, align their middles. Same thing with hours, minutes, and seconds. Hours, minutes, seconds, format, align their middles. That looks pretty good. And the finish time. And format, align their middles. And they're in good shape now. Now we just have to get them together. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take these three and format their horizontal spacing, make that equal, and then tighten it up by formatting and vertical spacing, decrease. Horizontal spacing, decrease. Format, horizontal spacing, decrease. And format, horizontal spacing, decrease. That doesn't look too bad. Maybe one more time. Format, horizontal spacing, decrease. Bring it down like that. That's good. And now we're going to kind of take this thing and just adjust it so it lines up right there perfectly with the arrows there. So we're looking good here, and I think we're still fine. I don't think I messed up the middle thingy. Format, align, middles. Yeah, I did a little bit, so I just fixed it up. Okay, now we're going to take this guy and this guy and format, align, centers. Format minutes, format, align, centers. And seconds, format, align, centers. That puts that in good shape. Need names for these things. I think I already named. I think I did name them all. I did name. Yeah, they're text hours, 6 minutes, seconds. We're in good shape there. Let's go ahead and put a background on this thing. So let's go to the back color, and I think we ended up using this one right here. That looks good. Looks the same as that one. That's looking great at this point in time. I'm going to extend this guy out a little bit. Not sure how far I want to go, but I'm going to end up putting a couple buttons. I also want to do something different here. I'm going to actually raise this a little bit. I don't think we need to be as tight as we are there. Bring this up a little bit and bring this thing in. So as you're building your application, you can certainly make some adjustments to what it's going to look like. I might even want to take this entire text group box and bring it up so it's tighter in here as well. Maybe not. Maybe I'll make some changes later. So this is looking good. I've got those pieces in place. That actually goes ahead and gives us our current slide. If we jump up here and look at our current slide, the information can be entered, the name, the finish time, and we can then add the list box. So I need a button here that's going to do that. So let's go ahead and put that in place. So we need a button of some kind. And where'd our button go? It's right here. Good. I kind of want to change that size on it. Maybe look like this. And we're going to just call this thing add. And we'll kind of want to give it a name and code too, so we can use it in code. And we'll call it this guy. Button add driver. Whoops. The misspelling pieces can be kind of crazy if you get that thing through. That's looking pretty good here. the add. I also want to be able to clear this. If I did something wrong here, I probably want to put a clear. But let's get this thing incised first, as we want it. What's this, is this thing square? When we can look at it this way, size is 79 by 75 by 79. Let's make it. Let's make that width 79. Then it is a square, and it's looking pretty good the way it's set up here. So I'm going to do another copy on this guy and put it over here, and this guy will be our clear button. And we'll name that thing in code by calling it button clear driver. So we know what it is when we actually get to that button. I may be adjusting this thing later, because we're going to be, if you look at this, we're going to be adding it to the list box. That means we're going to be putting this stuff someplace. So we're going to end up putting it into a list box, the name and probably the kilometers per hour and the miles per hour, because we can do the calculations now we have the information there. So we want to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the we're going to take this information, we hit add, and it's going to go into some list box up here. So let's go ahead and put those things in place. So let's look at the list box. Where do we have those things hiding here? There's the list box right here. We're going to put that over here. And this first one is going to be called the LBX driver data. How big do we want it? We want to get some buttons on here later. I'll show you why that's going to happen. We don't need to call it anything else. We'll just leave it like that. Our font should be changed. So we're going to have it sitting out here by itself. Where's that font button thingy? Here it is. We're going to go ahead and size it to 10 and make it bold. There it is. And then we're going to copy it and place it over here. And this guy is going to be called LBX listbox KPH data. Now, since it's only going to have miles per kilometers per hour data, I can kind of shrink that thing down. Maybe make it like this. And then I can make a copy of it and place it here. And this one will be LBX MPH data. So that'll hold the miles per hour speed we've got in here. Can we tighten this up any? Let's go ahead and move this guy over a little bit. And then let's go ahead and move him over a little bit. And move him over a little bit. And let's go ahead and take all three of these things and format and horizontal spacing make equal. It just adjusts a little bit. That tightens this thing up again and allows us to take this bottom blue here and kind of make it even with what we've got right here. Line it up with that thing right there. Which allows us to then take our whole form and bring it in a little bit tighter. So that puts that in place. Okay, so where are we? If you look at the slide, we've added a list box. We don't have that list box sitting up there. The only thing we do is do some list box maintenance, and then we want to be able to save the data. So what are we going to do here? If we think about this, we're going to want to be able to have something called a button that'll delete selected items. So let's go ahead and put a button here. That button comes in place over here. We're going to lay it right in here, and we're going to make it as wide as the entire selection here. We're going to set this up so when a user clicks on an item here, say we added a bunch of drivers. We got all these drivers sitting here. We want to get rid of one of them. This is actually going to clear that line item. So we're going to obtain the index of this, and then we're just going to delete the line so we can re-add again. So we're going to call this thing delete selected item. Put that in place. And we want to make our font the same. So we're going to go over here and make this a bold. And we want to make it a 10. And there it goes. Well, that looks a little tight, so we're going to make this button a little larger That looks about right here. Now we're looking pretty good with that thing. So our button looks good. That's the size we're going to be using for this thing. So what's going to happen is we're going to be able to go up here and it'll simply delete whatever item's in there. We can go ahead and then add some more stuff and whatever. So it's just going to maintain this piece. The other piece we need is the save part. So we're going to want a save button. So I'm going to take this guy and paste him here. And we're going to call this guy, where's my text box here? It is. Okay, right here. We're going to call this guy, we can just call it save, like the other one. Or we can save driver file, save all drivers, we'll call it. We'll just kind of name it like that and put that up there. Does that look good? There it is, save all drivers. That's probably fine, the way it looks right now. That's looking good. I'm going to bring this thing down a little bit. That's going to give us a little more room to make our list box a little longer. So we're going to kind of do that. It's not going to let me do that too much. Probably because of the lines I'm using, it's going down one line at a time. Okay, we'll leave it. There's a scroll bar involved there, so that's going to be just fine the way it is. So we'll leave that like that. The other thing we're going to need to do, when we save all drivers, we're going to want to say that the file was written to disk. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a label. And I'm going to bring a label up here. And there it is. We're going to bring it down here. And I'm going to use, I'm going to have to auto size this. I'm going to have to change the properties on this guy so that auto size is off. I'll change my fonts right now on this thing to bold and 10. I'm going to make the words file written to disk. Put that in there, make it a little wider. And I'm also going to take that thing and text align it so that it's in the center of this thing. And I'm going to make it red. So my for color and we can find red right here in our custom colors. Bang, put that in there, and that will change that to red. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this guy and this one, format them so they're the same size. That does make it like that. I'm then going to format and align their lefts rather. And then I'm going to format and align their, let's align their middles. Bang. That's going to be sitting right on top of that guy. So depending about which one's visible or invisible, we'll be displaying that thing. So that's there. The other thing I want to do, I want another button. So I'm going to copy this guy and lay one in here. And this is going to be enter next race. What this is going to do, it's going to clear everything we've got here, including this, and set us up in this track information up here and wipe everything out. So we're going to want to have this thing ready. Did I name these things? I've got this thing is named button 2. We need to name it something, so we want to be able to actually call this thing button save race data. We'll call it that. So we'll call it button BTN save race data. This one is going to be called button next race. BTN next race. And we're going to go ahead and put this one on top of this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and take this and this one. I'm going to format and align their rights. They're the same size, so there's no problem there. Lefts rather. And then I'm going to format and align their center, their middles. So they're sitting on top of one another. Now we laid this label name. This label is not named, so we need to name that, and that's going to be called. Get my cursor in here. There we go. Label file written. LBL file written. So I know what it is when I start looking at this thing in code. Then I'm going to send it to the back, so I can look at and double check that button right here that we're looking at and see if it's named. And it has not been named either, so we need to name that guy. And what we'll do is we'll call this guy button delete selected item. And that'll tell us exactly what it is. Button delete selected item. And that's in place. So now everything's named. I believe we've got this is named here, this is named here. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. How are we looking over here? As far as our design goes, we've got our save data here. We got a clear screen here. That's what this next race thing is. The button that says enter next race. That'll be this thing. It's going to clear the screen and set us up for how it's actually going to work. Now, how is it going to actually work? Well, we'll have to take a look at that and see. Well, form design does take time. And the more time you take setting it up, the easier your coding is going to be when you get there, which will be in the next video. For now, pat yourself on the back. It's a good design. And we will learn a lot as we go work with this design in code. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to use the website for easy access to all my videos. If you get a chance, please subscribe. That way, you'll be notified when something new is available. We'll see you next video. Take care.